Inconsistent, is that something that you hear quite often when talking to coaches or when talking with others? Like, you just show up some days and you don't show up others? Dan Hunt here. I'm a performance coach for individuals and teams, helping them win by being their best when it matters the most. And in this video, I'm gonna talk about disciplines. Disciplines to help you be more and more consistent. And before we get rolling, I want to just frame it in this way, is that either you are going to create disciplines and routines that minimize or limit the chaos, or you're gonna allow the chaos to eliminate you. The thing is that there's so many things vying for our attention, for our focus. There's so many people in different places, like this is important, that's important. And you need to be able to create routines and habits and disciplines to focus on what you need to focus to be at your best. The thing is that without these boundaries or these routines, your attention is going to go everywhere. And you've probably experienced that before. The whiplash of this person or this is important or that, or one day this is the focus and the next day that is, and you go, what the heck? And you end up actually feeling more and more tired and having a harder and harder time showing up with tons of energy and focus. The thing is that when we live in chaos and we allow our attention to go everywhere, that's when the cortisol, our physiology shifts and the cortisol begins to build up. In previous conversations or even videos, we've talked about how, yes, we need a level of stress or cortisol to build up in our body to be at our best. The thing is though, is that when we get too much of that, that's when our focus depletes, our energy levels deplete, and we're not able to be at our best. Discipline is so critical. And you've probably heard it before, that discipline, when you have a certain amount of discipline, it actually allows you to be free. It creates freedom. And the reason that is that you are able to show up authentically how you want to show up in whatever it is you're doing. You're not dictated by what this person or that person or the environment. The environment doesn't dictate how you show up, but you dictate how you show up. How many of you guys right now could actually reflect and go, man, I want more of that in my life? The thing is that it's totally up to you. You have the choice right now to be able to begin to do that. And one of the critical ways you begin to do that is creating disciplines in your life. Some of you might have some of these. So this might be about you reestablishing those so that you can begin to keep enhancing how you show up. I'm actually going through this currently right now. This is like attempt 7 on this video because I was on a vacation over the last couple of weeks, hiking and enjoying my time in Sedona, Arizona. And I stuck to similar routines, especially in the morning and so on and so forth, like I would when I was actually back here in Michigan. But the thing is there were certain routines that I didn't stick with. There were certain things that I didn't do while I was on that vacation. And because of that, I've struggled the past couple days to get back at it. And so I have to fight through to reestablish some of these disciplines. I'm not guilting myself. That's a big thing for some of us that may have lost some of that discipline to reestablish it. You don't guilt yourself. You tell yourself, this is my reality, and then you begin to reflect back on what helped you bring your best. So if you're somebody that's reestablishing right now, I want you to write down, what's that morning routine? What's those 2 or 3 things that you do no matter what that help you activate and get ready for the day? If you're somebody that doesn't have that, I want you to start with one thing. Write down one thing that you can start tomorrow that will help you activate. And I talk about the morning specifically because this helps us set the tone for the day. Then we can further go and say, how do we set those up as it relates to preparing for practice or preparing for a test or preparing for different things that we're going to do throughout the day. But mornings are so important to establish that for the day. What is that one thing you can do? What is that? And if you're somebody that already has a routine, write that down so that when you disrupt it, like going on vacation or different things like that, that you can go back to that and go, what were those things and how do I keep doing that? All right. Maybe you're somebody right now that you have a routine, but it just seems, I don't know, bland. Like it's not really helping you bring your best. Then I want you to dive into that and say, what can we change? Don't throw the whole thing out, but maybe what's 1 or 2 things we can change. Here's the thing with all of this, is that our brains are set up to recognize patterns. Okay? And that's really, really important because when we establish patterns, our brain can recognize, oh, it's time to do X, Y, and Z. and we can use less cognitive energy to getting ourselves into that space or getting ourselves into the zone. But by creating a routine, our brain and our body knows this pattern and it gets ready to activate. The other thing with these patterns is that we need to be able to establish these patterns for us to be moving forward, all right, and making things much easier for ourselves. Some of us like grind through the frustration because we never establish a pattern, so we constantly have friction in our life instead of actually creating a pattern that eliminates the friction so we're not wasting as much energy. Peak performance needs tons and tons and tons of energy. And if you are constantly like going through chaos and managing chaos just to get to the game, just to get to practice, just to get to school, then we're already showing up half depleted. We're not showing up fully as ourselves. And so that's another reason why these routines and these disciplines are critical. The choice, and I'm not somebody that's always like, hey, it's either this or this. But in this case, I really believe this to be true, is that either you're going to establish disciplines and routines in your life that minimize the chaos, even eliminating the chaos, removing the friction so that you can show up and give everything you can to the thing that you believe is most important. Or you're gonna keep letting the chaos manage you. You're gonna keep letting the chaos overwhelm you, drive your attention everywhere, and eventually just eliminating and actually depleting who you are so that you're not able to show up and be at your best. So today, if you're somebody that has routines, right? Evaluate them, right? Look at, see what's working, what's not. Remove some things, maybe enhance it and try some new things. If you're somebody that has had a routine but is kind of faded away, that's where I'm at right now. Like I'm reestablishing some things. I'm doubling down on some things, right? And it's given me an opportunity to reflect and say, hey, what wasn't working and what can I enhance, right? What can I bring more to or change and adjust? And finally, if you're somebody that doesn't have a routine where you're like, yo, Dan, I'm experiencing that. Like I'm living in the chaos right now. Do one thing tomorrow morning. Find one thing. Is it a song? Is it making your bed? Try one thing. And then the next day, try another thing, right? And stack it. And begin to start playing is what is that activation routine? What are those disciplines that I can have? Because when you establish these disciplines, you can live with more freedom. And your peak performance needs that. It needs you to show up and be able to feel free in whatever you're pursuing. Like, subscribe, and share to all this content, guys. We're gonna keep pumping this out like we've talked about. We're gonna keep delivering this stuff to you so that you can use and establish and try these things in your own life, all right? If this stuff has been beneficial, do us a favor, pass it along, all right? Share it, okay? And let us know how we can keep bringing content that's relevant to you and answering questions that you have.